Hello, my good people. If you remember my top 10 video game franchise lists, which based on viewership, not a lot of people do, you would know that my number one pick was the Super Mario Bros. Franchise, and I still stand by that. Almost every game to come out of Nintendo's famous Italian mustache hero is a great time. Most of them. I figured with the new movie just around the corner, now would be a good time to count down my personal favorites. So today we are counting down my picks for the top 10 mainline Mario games. For the rules, I'm counting only the mainline platforming games, so no kart racers, no party games, sports, or other types of spin-off games. While the RPG games have platforming elements and are also adventures, those are more of their own genre. Also, while I feel the spin-off games are great and all, heck, Mario Kart games apparently sell the best, the platform adventures are the true core of the franchise. Also, no Super Mario Maker, that's not really mainline. Anyways, on to the list. Let's-a go!
Do the Mario! Swing your arms from side to side.
What better way to start than with the game that started it all? Sort of. The first Mario game was an arcade game. The original Super Mario Bros. While it obviously shows its age as an 8-bit bunch of blocks that only sorta resemble some sort of characters, something that would definitely change down the line, but the game is still a simple and challenging game that's fun to play. The basic gameplay from the latter 2D installments are there. You run, jump, stomp Goombas, and collect coins and power-ups, though there's a lot less power-ups than later games. It still works as a fun 2D platformer that paved the way not just for the Mario series, but a lot of other games as well. Of course, I should mention that there have been slightly updated versions for those whose eyes hurt by looking at super old-school graphics. I'll admit it can be kinda hard to go back to this game, especially since how much later installments improve just about everything. But how can I not include the game that's still fun and challenging despite being nearly 40 years old? The original Super Mario Bros. Game, the one where it all began.
Do the Mario! Swing your arms from side to side.
New Super Mario Bros. DS. Well, yes, the new series, which ironically isn't really new anymore, did include stuff every new installment to make each of the games a different experience, and while the first one from 2006 isn't as impressive as later games in this sub-series, I'd be doing myself a disservice if I didn't include this gem. I'll admit I do have some pretty big nostalgia bias towards this game. Although not the first Mario game I played, it was the first Mario adventure game that I managed to beat. But damn, this game is still fun and charming. It also has some pretty cool power-ups that I wish would be used again someday, like the Mega Mushroom. Even the shell was pretty cool. Anyways, while later games would follow this formula and improve upon it, this was the first 2D Mario platformer game in a long time, albeit using 3D models. At the time, it was cool to see the Mario series return to its 2D platforming roots in a new way, with a mix of modern and old-school Mario style. Gameplay of an 8 or 16-bit game with the stylings of a 3D game, bringing 3D Mario mechanics like wall jumping and ground pounding into a 2D game, hidden areas which gives the game some replay value, and even hidden levels, and a decent balance of difficulty so it's not too hard for younger gamers, but not too easy for older ones, making it a good first romp through the world of Mario. The story is also somewhat worth mentioning. While it's the typical Mario has to save Peach as usual, though this time Bowser Jr. is the main antagonist, Bowser straight up dies in this game via boiling alive. Also, he comes back as a skeleton and then dies again. He's brought back towards the end, but still, yeah, this game gets kinda dark. Especially the final world, which may as well be hell itself, complete with its eerie music. Another thing I like about this game that I wish later installments had is the mini-games. While these games aren't Mario Party level, they're still enjoyable little score and time challenges that differentiate from the main game. Also, give some time for characters who didn't appear in the main game to shine. Some of these include playing cards and betting. Hey kids, who wants to gamble with Luigi? Anyways, new Super Mario Bros. Is still a great time.
Do the Mario! Swing your arms from side to
Super Mario Bros. 3, a game that took everybody by storm back then with its innovative level design, new power-ups, and overall difficulty. Seriously, prepare to rage quit at times. While the game does feel a little odd compared to later games, it's still a good time with its uniqueness. I like the giant world the best. The many unique power-ups like the frog suit, which allows you to swim better and jump high, the hammer bro, which allows you to toss hammers at enemies, and the tanuki suit, which helps you glide. This is so far the only power-up from this game to return in future installments, and the game is overall challenging. At times it can be really hard, but that makes beating the levels feel all the more rewarding. So yeah, try to earn all the extra continues you can. And for the first time, different bosses. In the previous two games, they were more limited with the world bosses. Mario Bros. 1 had you only go up against Bowser, and 2 was mostly Birdos and Pimples at the end. Here, each world has a new Koopaling to go up against. BTW, Nintendo, if you hear this, have the Koopalings be the main antagonists of a full 3D Mario game someday. So far, only the 2D games have them, as well as them being playable in the Mario Kart series. Anyways, while it's obvious the story isn't anything amazing, the fact that there's more to this story this time than just Peach getting kidnapped, i.e. there's stuff about the Koopalings turning people into creatures and stealing the kingdom's magic, was a big step into getting the series into some actually good storylines later down the line, i.e. the Paper Mario and the Mario and Luigi's games, but those are more RPGs than platformers, so those won't be on the list. Also, anyone else feel like Mario was originally supposed to take place in a medieval type setting? This changed later down the line with games including modern technology, sometimes even more advanced than we have now, and even having a big focus on them. Anyways, while I prefer the more recent take on the Mushroom Kingdom, being set in a world that doesn't feel medieval but still has magic and castles, this game is still a good and challenging time, with great power-ups and new bosses.
Do the Mario swing your arms from side to
Super Mario 64, the first time the franchise took a jump to 3D, and while it obviously shows its age, it's still a smooth transition to the third dimension. Better than Bubsy's attempt, I'll say that. This is the game that kickstarted a lot of things. It kickstarted voice acting in the series. Well, there's only a handful of lines in this game. Charles Manette has been voicing the Italian hero for years now. It kickstarted the collectathon genre, and it kickstarted 3D games for generations to come. Not the first 3D game, but still. Anyways, Mario's first adventure in full 3D is still just as fun as it was back in 1996. And to be honest, there's a bit of a charm to the early 3D blocky look. Anyways, the game took a different approach to Mario platformers previously. Instead of just getting to the goal, you progress to different worlds by collecting power stars, which you get by completing missions, defeating bosses, and just finding them. This is actually a good way to take advantage of the full 3D world, since each time you go back to the same level, you have a different goal in mind. No wonder this formula sticked around for later installments. Anyways, the worlds are all well designed and diversive in locations that you literally jump into them via paintings, including snowy mountains, Bob-omb battlefields, a haunted house with a piano that gave everybody a jump scare, and even an old abandoned ship, with good music to accompany them. Another thing I should mention is that you might have noticed that for some reason the graphics seem to improve between clips I show. That's because there's two different versions of this game actually. The original Mario 64 for the Nintendo 64, and the DS version, which, besides updating the visuals, also adds some new stars, a few worlds that weren't in the original, and adds 3 new playable characters. Yoshi, who can toss eggs at enemies from afar, Wario, who's the strongest, and Luigi, who can hover in the air for a bit. While both games are great, the DS version might be the superior one, on the 3DS at least, due to those reasons. But either way, Mario 64 is a game that anyone can jump into.
do the Mario swing your arms.
Super Mario World, a game that added much more personality and charm to the series. Much bigger levels, even the map is pretty impressive, with some branching paths, and sprites that still look pretty good today. The updated art style for this game is still prevalent even in the most recent of games, using that rounded, close-eyed look to this day, also while adding more gameplay elements like fence climbing and switching, making the levels much bigger / more to do, and the pretty OP cape power-up. Of course, you didn't think I wouldn't mention that this was Yoshi's first appearance, and he was a lot less anthropomorphic back then, considering all he does in this game is run and eat. Nowadays he can play sports and drive and stuff. Anyways, this was a good first appearance for our beloved dinosaur companion, and you will be wanting to use him. Also, since the game revolves around saving Yoshi eggs, he's relevant to the story. Anyways, with more advanced level designs, impressive for the time graphics, and overall fun, this is probably my favorite of the classic era Mario. New Super Mario Bros. Wii and U. That's right, a tie between games. While New Super Mario Bros. DS brought back the old school gameplay with new mechanics, these are the games that mastered them, bringing back the Koopalings for the first time in years, having the games go up to 4 players, having Yoshi be rideable again, as well as baby Yoshis, who really do help out with their abilities, and having a 2D Mario game and its associated worlds be in full HD. The game is full of exciting set pieces and hidden areas, with big gold coins to help unlock even more bonus levels post-game. Also, I should mention the new power-ups like the propeller mushroom, which is just the best, the penguin suit, which allows you to shoot ice balls and slide, and the flying squirrel suit, which allows you to glide and grapple. Of course, playing with 4 players, if you're able to, makes the whole experience much more fun. Anyways, these 2 games aren't really new anymore, but they are super. Also, this level always was really weird to me, even for a Mario game. I mean, come on, giant stingrays in the sky flying? Super Mario 3D World. As you might notice, I tend to prefer 3D platformers over 2D ones, as the top 4 are all 3D. Personal preferences, after all. Anyways, this was the first 3D mainline Mario game for the ill-fated Wii U, but thankfully later ported to the Nintendo Switch, with a new game mode added along. Anyways, while more linear than most 3D games, it's still a fun time that takes you through the world of Mario with fast-paced gameplay, power-ups and items to make the journey and scoring points easier, and the level designs that encourage players to keep their eyes peeled for collectibles. While I wouldn't call this a collectathon like most of the 3D platformers on this list, since the game is mostly built around getting to the goal, collecting green stars is part of the game and open up gates for extra levels and sometimes progression. There's also these stamps, but that's more as a bonus. Anyways, levels are creative and varied in design, the neon-colored cities and circuses being a standout for me. The bosses are also memorable. I mean, you gotta give him credit. Bowser definitely has style with his car, and the power-ups are pretty great. Not just with the Tanuki suit returning, but the cat suit, which gives you the ability to climb and pounce, and the cherry, which makes clones of you, which you can all control at once. I also like these items like the Gooba mask for sneaking past, the cannon, which is pretty self-explanatory, and my favorite, the Piranha plant. Something satisfying about carrying around the potted plant and having it just eat every enemy in sight. Also, this game goes up to 4 players, so friends and family can join in. Also, Peach is actually playable instead of a second Toad. Good to have her helping out instead of needing help. The multiplayer and heavy reliance on power-ups almost makes this feel like a new Super Mario Bros. Game with an extra layer, a 3D 2D game if that makes sense. Mario 3D World, the best Mario game on the Wii U. Super Mario Sunshine. Think of this game as a tropical Mario 64 with a robotic water gun. Anyways, while on vacation, Mario is falsely accused of sludging the place due to a shadowy figure that the people of El Delfino mistake you for, even though they should tell that this water person obviously isn't you. While Mario is forced to do community services for the town, he and his friends try to get to the bottom of who this mysterious figure really is. I'm not going to explain the full story, but this is probably the first time a Mario game felt cinematic with some mystery and even multiple fully voiced cutscenes for the first time. Mario 64 only had 2. Granted, story-wise, this feels more like a Saturday morning cartoon than a major motion picture, but these cutscenes still have character. Though I'll admit Bowser sounds weird. I didn't imagine him having a voice, and even if he did, I didn't think he'd sound like that.
Junior, I've got something difficult to tell you about.
Anyways, the gameplay takes after Mario 64. It adds a few new elements, Yoshi being rideable for the first time in a 3D Mario game, and puking juice for some reason, and the big one, FUD, who absorbs water that can be used as a spray, rocket you up, or just hover for a bit. I do like this game mechanic and this robotic character. He's even implied to be created by EGAD, and I do hope that someday he makes a return somehow. What works about the gameplay is that the mission structure is actually better than Super Mario 64, as not only is getting shines, this game's equivalent of stars, more rewarding since the tasks are not only more fun overall since FUD helps out a lot, but the missions have more variety to them, like getting this watermelon across the beach and squid racing. Even the bosses are more creative and exciting. The island of El Delfino is a great setting as well. One thing that some people might be turned off by is the fact that this island is the only location in this game. And we've seen tropical beach-themed Mario worlds before and after, but this game does have a lot of different places from the beach, a resort, the harbor, deep underwater, and even a theme park, so the levels don't all feel the same. Also, it's kind of obvious since a lot of missions have you cleaning up slime and defeating sludge monsters, and even one has you protecting an endangered bird egg, that there's an obvious environmental message in this game, but story-wise it doesn't shove it down your throat every 10 seconds. And there's more to the story than just people suck. Anyway, Super Mario Sunshine, cause clean is better than dirty, and dirty's better than clean.
Mach den Mario, schwing die Arme auf und ab!
Super Mario Galaxy 1 and 2. For a while, I felt like there was no way that they could top these, but Nintendo eventually did. Anyways, these games are still truly interstellar. Visually, these games were some of the best on the Wii. For a system where graphics weren't the main selling point, these were great. The creativity of the planets you visit and platform and swing across, the atmospheric soundtrack, the massive bosses, and the power-ups. Each world being memorable and beautiful to look at, and most of them are big and have lots to do. The missions do have a lot of ways to get you to explore, platform, as well as world build as you get to know a little bit about what each planet is like and what the species on the planet do. Also, this planet's populated by friendly bees, rabbits, and penguins, because I guess they were aliens all along. I knew it. Also, the enemies you go up against are different than your typical Mario foes, since a lot of these are creatures from another planet, though the classics like Goombas and Boos are still there. Anyways, another thing I like are the bosses, since a lot of them are massive in size and feel threatening. Even Bowser manages to be more of a threat this time around. He steals the whole castle in the first game, and becomes giant in the second, even though he becomes comically tiny at the end. Also the power-ups. While not as power-up heavy as the 2D games or 3D Land, and most of them last shortly, we get some pretty cool, creative, and straight-up helpful ones, some of which straight-up transform Mario. Also in 2, Yoshi gets power-ups in the form of fruit. As for which game is better, 1 or 2, well, I'd say the first one has a better hub world, since it's like a whole observatory, populated by Lumas over a small moving planet, though I do like how friendly NPCs join you if you collect enough stars from their world. And a better host in the form of Rosalina, who for a Mario game has a pretty sad backstory, while the second one has this obese Luma. The second one does do a lot to improve the gameplay, however, and I prefer to think of the second one as an expansion. Mario Galaxy 1 and 2. Help Mario boldly go where no man has gone before. Before we get to number 1, here are a few honorable mentions. Mario 3D Land. A fun game for the 3DS, but 3D World did what this game did, but better. Super Mario Bros. 2. An interesting switch on what other Mario games were doing at the time, but this apparently was just another game reskinned to include Mario to be more profitable, so it might not count, even if elements of this game made it into later games. Mario Bowser's Fury. It's definitely a good time, but it's technically a DLC for the 3D world. New Super Mario Bros. 2 for the 3DS. It's a good game, but it doesn't do anything super new. Anyways, on to number 1. For a long time, I didn't think any Mario platformer would be able to top Galaxy unless it was Mario Galaxy 3, but then in 2017, I was proven wrong. Super Mario Odyssey. Where do I begin? Just about everything in this game works. The worlds, the level design, gameplay, music, graphics, everything. The worlds are all memorable with their characters you encounter, faces new and old, the challenges and exploration, and even the clothes you unlock from them. Yeah, these costumes don't really change the game, but it's a fun bonus. The places range from highly fantastical lands to places based off the real world, but with a Mario twist to them. There is a ton of moons to collect, more so than any main collectible in the previous Mario game collectathons, giving the game tons of replay value, which will get you to check out areas of these massive worlds you missed out on. The big thing in this game is that Mario's hat gets replaced with Cappy. Throw a hat at an enemy or creature and experience a new way to play. There's a lot of things you can capture and control in this game, all of which can help you get a moon in some way or another, and can make the game a lot more enjoyable since you don't know what you can do or capture next. This is also the first Mario game to have an original song written for it, sung by Pauline, and it's able to rival some original songs for Sonic games. Also, the rest of the music is pretty great too. With tons of replay value, imagination, charm, and more, I feel confident in calling this my favorite Mario Bros. Game. And that was my list. I hope you enjoyed. If you're new here, check out my other videos. This is Jake DeBruin signing out.